Important areas we have to see is the British. Advent of Europeans we are seeing. In this advent of Europeans already we have seen the first advent of Europeans. In this advent of Europeans we have seen, so first one the Portuguese, second one the Dutch. Next we have to see the third one, the British. The British, they were the third people to come to India. The British, they were the third people to come to India, and they were the third people who left India. English East India Company that was started in the year 1600, December 31st. English East India Company that was started in the year 1600, December 31st only this was started. Okay. So then they decided to start this mercantilism with Asian continent countries. Okay, at this moment what happened? To get permission from this Indian ruler Jahangir, so they sent Captain William Hawkins. Captain William Hawkins came to the court of, so this one, especially who gave permission to move to India? Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth gave permission to this company. Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth, she gave permission to this company to move to India. At this moment what happened? Captain William Hawkins was sent to the court of Jahangir. So this is the year 1608. Captain William Hawkins. Captain William Hawkins. He came to the court of Jahangir. Jahangir, you know well, he was the Mughal emperor. He was son of Akbar. Jahangir's period 1605 and continued till 1627. That is the period of this Jahangir. So to the court of Jahangir only Captain William Hawkins came to obtain permission or to get permission to establish their trade and commerce and to establish their factories in India. Because European continent that is well advanced, you know well, so after manufacturing goods there must be some market. Okay. So if they are sold in the market, again they can invest money and they can manufacture. So like that. That's why entrepreneurship that was started by these Europeans, in that especially the British also advanced, Britain, right? So in connection with that, they sent Captain William Hawkins to the court of Jahangir. So but Jahangir, what he said already, Portuguese people that are existing here, it will become unhealthy competition. That's why, so I am not willing to give permission to you people in all the regions. So only few regions you can like that. Who said? Jahangir said. So at this moment, so this Captain William Hawkins moved back. Then in the year 1611, they came to Machilipatnam. So this British entered Machilipatnam in the year 1611. In the year, the British in the year 1611, so they came to Machilipatnam. So Machilipatnam comes where? Machilipatnam comes in Andhra. So there is Machilipatnam, they reached Machilipatnam. The first ship which reached Machilipatnam was Globe. The captain of the ship was Hippan. The first British officer who entered Machilipatnam was Sir Francis Day. And they used to call this Machilipatnam as Masula. They used to call Machilipatnam as Masula. The British used to call this one as Masula. Okay. So there is like that. The first ship which entered Machilipatnam was Globe. Okay, Globe. Captain of the ship was, who was the captain? The captain of the ship was Hippan. Hippan was the captain. First British officer was, who was the first British officer? The first British officer, Francis Day. This Francis Day, he came, right? So like that they started there in Machilipatnam. During that time, Machilipatnam that was under the control of Golconda Sultan Sinobal. Golconda Sultan during that time was Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah. This Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah gave permission to these people. Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah. This Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, right? This Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, so he gave permission to these people. Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah was Golconda Sultan, you know well. Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah. The period of this one started in the year 1580, continued till 1612. That's the period of Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah. That's the period of Muhammad Quli. So hence he gave permission to this British to establish their trade and commerce in Machilipatnam. After that they went to Pulicat, Injaram, Ormugam. Many centers they established their centers. Number of centers they established. Okay. So Machilipatnam, that was the first center they established, you have to remember. In 1611, the first ship entered was Globe. Captain of the ship was Hippen. First British officer, Francis Day. Who gave permission to these people? Muhammad Quli Qutub Shah, right? So like that, all these important things went on. Then, after Machilipatnam, they went to this Machilipatnam. They went to Machilipatnam. From Machilipatnam, they moved to which place? They moved to Pulicat. So they moved to Pulicat, one of the centers. They went to Pulicat. After that, Injaram. So Injaram, they established a center in Injaram. Not only Injaram, in many places. And after that, they moved to Ormugam. Ormugam comes in Nellore region. Like that, in many centers in Andhra. All these centers located where? In Andhra only. In Andhra, they established many centers. Trade and commerce that was started by these people. So then what happened in the sense? So anyhow, they decided to start industries. At this moment, once again, they sent, okay, Sir Thomas Roe to the court of Jahangir. Sir Thomas Roe. In the year 1613, Sir Thomas Roe came to the court of Jahangir once again. He came to the court of Jahangir to obtain permission. To get permission second time, who came? Sir Thomas Roe came to the court of this when he was very talkative. He praised the administration of Jahangir. In every activity, your administration is good. Your Majesty, your administration is beautiful. Law and order, that is good. Judiciary, that is excellent. You established justice, bell and agra fort. Nowhere in the world we can see this type of justice like that. He started praising the administration of this Jahangir. Okay. So at the same time, when he was coming to India, to the court of Jahangir, he brought valuable gifts. Diamond rings he brought, beautiful mirror that was also brought by this one. What this Sir Thomas Roe said to Jahangir? Your Majesty, affectionately I brought all these gifts from London. Okay, you may give permission or you may not give permission. You are the emperor here. Okay, but affectionately I brought all these. You have to consider, you have to accept like that, he said, and put before all these diamond rings. They are beautifully manufactured. Okay, beautiful mirror. By seeing all these, Jahangir thought that the technology is advanced. So then it is better to give permission to these people like that who thought Jahangir. Like that permission that was granted. They established a first factory there at Surat. The British established, okay, the British established their first factory there at Surat. The British established a first factory that was started there at Surat in the year 1613. In 1613 only this was. So manufacturing started in 1615. So there is foundation that was laid in the year 1613. After that, manufacturing that was all started in the year 1615. Like that, first factory of Surat that was established by. So these people who gave permission, Jahangir gave permission. Surat, that is very convenient place for this textile industry. Textile industry that was started. First factory that is textile. Textile industry that was started by them. Textile industry was started by the British, we can say. Okay, like that, first factory that was started by these people, that you have to remember. It was established first and there at Surat. Surat comes in Gujarat. After that, they started their subsidiary, especially subordinate factories. Number of factories they were established. So factories were established. Factories they established. Subordinate factories, we can say. Okay. Subordinate factories they were established by these people at Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad. There at Ahmedabad they established. At the same time, they established there in Broch or Baruch we can say. So they established there in Broch. They established there in Agra. Okay. So there is Agra also they established like that. Many centers were established by them. So number of centers were established by these people like that. You can say the British established. Meanwhile in South India what happened? They came to Madras region, you know well. So in South India after, so they is entering Andhra. So when they were in Armugam, in Andhra they established Machilipatnam, Pulicat, Injaram, etc. places. Okay. So after that when they entered this Armugam, the British entered in Andhra. In Andhra, okay, when they were there in Armugam, Armugam comes in, Armugam that comes in Madras, there is Nellore region, you know well, Armugam. When they were searching for new markets, so these British, they were invited to Madras by Madras ruler Damirla Venkatadri Naidu. Madras ruler, he was feudatory of Vijayanagar ruler. Okay, so this Madras ruler, Damirla Venkatadri Naidu. So this Damirla Venkatadri Naidu. So who is this one? Damirla. This Damirla Venkatadri Naidu. Venkatadri Naidu. This Damirla Venkatadri Naidu, he invited this one to Madras. Then they moved to Madras. Madras was given to the British for lease, and gradually they got control over Madras and they established St. George Fort. In 1639 only they entered Madras. In 1639 they moved to Madras. Okay, so Madras only. This Damirla Venkatadri Naidu's father was Chennappa, and the name of Chennappa only, Chennapattanam, that was established, or they used to call it as Chennai, right? So like that, in the year 1639 they moved to Madras. In Madras they established St. George Fort. St. George Fort that was established by them in Madras. So that's one of the important points you have to remember. Like that, gradually what happened in the eastern region and southern region, especially Madras came under the control of these people. So from Madras only all administrative activities, so there is governance etc. they continued by the British. Okay, in South Indian region, right? Like that, Madras became one of the important centers, like that we can say. This Damirla Venkatadri Naidu's father was Chennappa. And the name of Chennappa only, Chennapattanam, that was established, you know, well, Chennai. Otherwise, we are calling Chennapattanam, right? So, like that, all these important things, they happened. After this, what happened? They moved to Bombay. How they got control over Bombay presidency? They got control over, especially Bombay, that was under the control of the Portuguese. Portuguese princess was Catherine Briganja. So there is Bombay. If you see this Bombay, then Bombay that was under the control of the Portuguese. The Portuguese only, activities continued by these people, Portuguese only. Portuguese princess was Catherine Briganja. This Catherine Briganja, what happened? Married. So British Prince Charles II. So married Charles II. With that incident, these Portuguese people gave this Bombay as dowry to Charles II. Catherine Briganja. Portuguese princess was Catherine Briganja or Catherine Mayo. Briganja, like that it was said. Otherwise, Catherine Mayo. This Catherine Briganja we can say. Briganja. Okay. Catherine Briganja, right? So this woman married, this princess married Charles II. Charles II of Britain. Charles II of Britain. So with this incident, the Portuguese people gave this Bombay as dowry to Charles II. Charles II was in London, Bombay is in India. Then how to administer, how to maintain law and order, how to collect taxes. So all these becomes a huge task to this Charles II. That's why Charles II, he thought that it is better to surrender. it is better to hand over this Bombay to. So this English East India Company like that, he surrendered or handed over this Bombay to English East India Company on rental basis. It is not free, it is on rental basis only, Bombay that was given to this Charles to. So handed over Bombay to this Bombay that was given to English East India Company on rental basis. On what basis? On rental basis only this was given. On rental basis only this was given. Like that, Bombay came into the control. In Bombay also rich in resources and seaport areas also existed. International trade and commerce became easy for the British, we can say. Abundantly resources they existed. Okay. So in Western India, what happened? Bombay became the main center. In Bombay, they established a Saint David Fort. In Bombay, what happened? In Bombay, they established a Saint David Fort. Saint David Fort was established by these people. The British established Saint David Fort in Bombay. In Western India, Bombay, okay, became the main center for their administration, for their activities. Okay, so there is British Maharaj, they established so there in Bombay, we can say. Like that, in Western India, what happened? Bombay became the main center. In South Indian region, Madras became the main center for their administration. So like that, that continued. Coming to this eastern region, Calcutta, so there is Bengal. How did they establish their supremacy in Bengal? If you see, so this Bengal also came under the control of this one. In the period of Aurangzeb, what happened in the sense? So after the decline of these Mughals, mainly after the death of Aurangzeb only, there is Bengal, Bihar, Orissa regions. They decided to become independent. In the period of Farrukhshah Muhammad, okay, there is Murshid Quli Khan. He was appointed as Subedar or governor of Odisha region. Murshid Quli Khan in Bengal. So Bengal, we can say. Previously Bengal, if you see Calcutta. So these three villages came together and Calcutta became the main center. One is Calcutta, one is Sutanauti, one is Govindapur. Three villages came together and Calcutta advanced. Okay, which are these in Bengal especially? One is Calcutta. So one is Govindapur. One is Govindapur. One is Sutanauti. All these regions came together and Calcutta advanced. Calcutta became the capital. Like that, Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, all these united together only during that time. Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, all these. So at this moment, in the period of Aurangzeb, he lost life. He was dead in the year 1707. Okay, among these great Mughals, Aurangzeb's empire, that is very vast, very big empire that was established by this Aurangzeb. But at last he was dead in the year 1707. So this Aurangzeb was dead in the year 1707. After that, what happened in the sense? Previously, so they are appointed, governors were appointed to look after the administration in Bihar, Bengal, Odisha. Now what happened in the sense? They decided to become independent in the period of especially Farrukhshah Muhammad. Okay, so this Murshid Quli Khan of Bengal, he was appointed as Subedar or governor of Odisha. Murshid Quli Khan. This Murshid Quli Khan. So he was appointed. Murshid Quli Khan, he was appointed as Subedar. Like that it was said, or governor. This governor of Odisha. So Orissa, previously this was called Orissa. So this Murshid Quli Khan was appointed. Originally he acted as de facto, he was not de jure, but after the death of Aurangzeb, he became de jure. So real powers, and originally became the ruler, like that we can say, right? Murshid Quli Khan. This Murshid Quli Khan became independent ruler of this Bengal region. So in the years, so especially 1717, Murshid in Bengal region, this Murshid Quli Khan, he came to power in the year 1717. continued till 1727 as independent ruler. He administered the things well. Murshid Quli Khan in Bengal region, Orissa, Bihar, Bengal, all these united together only during that time, and agriculture reforms were also brought by this one. He asked so these farmers to sell their crops, especially at minimum support prices, like that he said. At the same time, Takavi loans were given by this one. Previously, Takavi loans, once in medieval history, if you see, Muhammad bin Tughlaq granted Takavi loans to the farmers for their convenience. In the same way, here Murshid Quli Khan, he granted these Takavi loans. Takavi loans have been given to the farmers by this one. These farmers are granted Takavi loans. In the same way, so they considered the welfare of people, welfare of farmers. So all the things went well in the period of this Murshid Quli Khan. After this one, what happened? Shujauddin, he came to power. Shujauddin. So this after Murshid Quli Khan, so he continued till 1727. So then there is Shujauddin. Shujauddin, he came to power. Shujauddin. He came in the year 1727 and continued till 1739. So there is like that, he continued. 1727 he came, continued till 1739, like that we can say. And he continued the same thing. Bihar, Bengal, Odisha administration, that was continued well by this one also. So continued the same. Agriculture reforms, all these continued well in the period of Shujauddin. After this one, Sarfaraz Khan. This Sarfaraz Khan, he came to power. So this especially Shujauddin, he was son-in-law of Murshid Quli Khan. So Shujauddin, he was son-in-law of Murshid Quli Khan. Sarfaraz Khan, he was son of Shujauddin. This Sarfaraz Khan, he came in the year 1739, continued till 1740 only. During this time only, what happened in the sense? During this time only, Ali Vardi Khan was appointed as Subedar. Ali Vardi Khan. This Ali Vardi Khan was appointed by this Sarfaraz Khan. But Ali Vardi Khan, what happened in the sense? He defeated this Sarfaraz Khan. So defeated and came to power. Ali Vardi Khan came in the year 1740 and continued till 1756 period. Ali Vardi Khan. He was a good administrator, at the same time maintained good relations with this British also at the same time. All the things went well. But what happened in the sense, after this Ali Vardi Khan, his grandson Siraj-ud-Dawla came to power. In the period of Siraj-ud-Dawla, the relations between the British and the Siraj-ud-Dawla, they were completely strained. And they established factories at the same time. So fortified, they wanted to establish Fort William in Bengal. So that's why what happened, he did not accept. Siraj-ud-Dawla, after Ali Vardi Khan only, who came? Siraj-ud-Dawla came to power. Siraj-ud-Dawla. So this Siraj-ud-Dawla, he came in the year 1756 and 1757. 1756, 1757 period only he continued. Siraj-ud-Dawla's period, the relations between this British and this Siraj-ud-Dawla, they were completely strained because they did not accept this British to expand their trade and commerce. And he also thought that they will definitely occupy this Bengal. So like that, he decided to create some fear in the minds of the British. That's why he became cause for Calcutta Black Hole tragedy. That is in the year 1756. So June 20th and June 21st only. So this Calcutta Black Hole tragedy that took place. It is said that 146 people there were, including women, children and business people, merchants, they were all arrested and they were all forcibly thrown into a small room where there was no lights, no ventilation, no food, no water. They suffered like anything. June 20th only they were taken under their custody. They were forcibly thrown in 1756. And next day only when they opened, out of 146, only 17 people they were alive. In that 16 people condition, that's very worst. Only one fellow who was in a position to speak something, his name Halwell. Halwell explained everything to the British. So like that, things went on. Things went on like that we can say. Who became cause for Calcutta black hole tragedy? Siraj-ud-Dowla became cause for Calcutta black hole tragedy, like that we can say. Siraj-ud-Dowla. Who became cause? Siraj-ud-Dowla. This Siraj-ud-Dowla. This Siraj-ud-Dowla, he became cause for Calcutta black hole tragedy. So that's in the year, especially in the year 1756, that you have to remember. Calcutta black hole tragedy. Okay, this Calcutta black hole tragedy that took place. This is called Calcutta. Okay, black hole tragedy. Black hole tragedy. This Calcutta black hole tragedy, June 20th and 21st only this took place. So there is 1756, that is June 20th to 21st, 20th to 21st only this one. 146 people, they were forcibly arrested. 146 people, like that it was said. So including children and women, merchants, children, women, all these were arrested. So especially merchants they are there, children they are there in that, so and women they are also there in that. At this moment what happened? So they were all taken to a small room, jail, okay. So then they were thrown into a small room. There was no ventilation, no light. Next day in the morning when they opened, only how many people were alive? 17 persons were alive, like that it was said. In that 17 persons, only one is in a position to speak. His name is Halwell. So this Halwell was in a position to speak. He went and said everything to the British. At this moment, the British appointed Robert Clive to see this matter. Robert Clive was appointed to look into this matter. Why this Siraj-ud-Dowla acted like this? So against the British, you have to learn a lesson to Siraj-ud-Dowla like that. They said to this, so there is especially Robert Clive. Robert Clive decided to declare war against this Siraj-ud-Dowla. He decided to suppress. He decided to establish British supremacy in Bengal. Not only in Bengal, completely India. Previously, when they came for this trade and commerce, there was no idea to establish especially the supremacy or power in India. But gradually what happened? The conditions which prevailed in India made them to establish their supremacy in India. So previously, they have no idea actually to establish their supremacy or their power. But what happened? The conditions which existed in India gave way for the British to establish their supremacy or suzerainty in India, we can say, right? So like that, when Halwell explained everything to the British appointed Robert Clive. Who was appointed? The British appointed Robert Clive. He was the governor. Robert Clive was appointed. This Robert Clive. Then Robert Clive, what happened? He decided to suppress Siraj-ud-Dowla. He decided to suppress Siraj-ud-Dowla. He decided to suppress this Siraj-ud-Dowla, decided to declare Battle of Plassey. So Plassey trees, flowery trees were grown in that region, hence they used to call this region as Plassey. Palash trees we are calling our Plassey. Okay, that's why the name of the place is called Plassey. So they decided to declare Battle of Plassey against Siraj-ud-Dowla. So that's why this Robert Clive met all enemies of this Siraj-ud-Dowla. Mainly, so there is one of the richest merchants. So Alam Chand, one of the important merchants he met. So at the same time, a banker. So Jagat Seth he met. Okay, like that. So Alam Chand, he met Alam Chand. So he was also called Amin Chand. Alam Chand, one of the merchants. So there is one of the merchants. So he met this merchant Alam Chand. At the same time, Jagat Seth. Jagat Seth. This Jagat Seth was a banker in Bengal. He met this one. Manik Chand, he was also a merchant. Manik Chand. Like that, he met many. Okay. So there is especially who met Robert Clive. This Robert Clive met all these people because they are all the enemies to this Siraj-ud-Dowla. Because Siraj-ud-Dowla, so they created disgust in the minds of these people every time. Okay. So I was creating some problems for their trade and commerce or So their mercantilism. That's why, so they developed enmity against this one. Okay. So this Robert Clive met all these people, won the supports of these people to declare Battle of Plassey. They also supported this Robert Clive. At last, this Robert Clive, he went and met one of the commanders of Siraj-ud-Dawla, Mir Jafar. He met Mir Jafar, one of the commanders. Robert Clive met Siraj-ud-Dawla's commander. This Robert Clive, he met Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar. This Mir Jafar, he was commander of Siraj-ud-Dawla, one of the commanders. So he was one of the commanders of Siraj-ud-Dawla. Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, one of the commanders. So this Mir Jafar, he was one of the commanders, we can say. One of the commanders and mainly chief commander, we can say. So he met this one. So when he met, Robert Clive met this one. Who met? Robert Clive met this Mir Jafar. Robert Clive met Mir Jafar. Then he met and asked this one. So what he said in the sense, we decided to declare Battle of Plassey against your master. So there is Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla. You have to support us like that. When he said, I am the chief commander. All the things are on my shoulders. How dare you speak to these words before me? So no question of supporting you. Better you leave immediately like that. He admonished this Robert Clive. But Robert Clive said, what in the sense? First you listen my words. If you are willing, you can. Otherwise, I am ready to leave. I am not going to stay here to have dinner or something in your house. Okay. So better you listen like that. He started telling the things. He said what in the sense? If you support in this battle, we decided to declare Battle of Plassey. If you support in this Battle of Plassey, after defeating your Siraj-ud-Dawla, we are going to appoint you as Nawab of Bengal. You think it once? At least you inform us tomorrow morning. Like that he said. For that what happened? This Mir Jafar accepted. Okay. I am ready to accept. No question of postponing this one. I am ready to support you people like that. He said and deceived this Siraj-ud-Dawla, his master Siraj-ud-Dawla, because of this Nawab post. So like that Battle of Plassey that was declared. This is Battle of Plassey. This Battle of Plassey was declared, that is in the year 1757, June 23rd. Battle of Plassey we are calling. This is called Plassey because Plassey flowery trees were grown in that region, hence they called it as Plassey, right? It is one of the important, remarkable battles, we can say. It is very important battle, remarkable battle which gave way for the supremacy of this British in Bengal. Not only Bengal to establish their supremacy in India, it gave way like that, we can say, Battle of Plassey. In this Battle of Plassey, what happened? So naturally this Mir Jafar said to soldiers, so no need to bring any arms and weapons. So like that easily they were all defeated. Okay. This Siraj-ud-Dawla was captured by the British. So British got victory in this and Siraj-ud-Dawla was defeated. Who was defeated? This Siraj-ud-Dawla. This Siraj-ud-Dawla, he was defeated. And at this moment the British got victory here. So which got victory? The British, they got victory. Siraj-ud-Dawla was defeated. Like that, all these important things that happened in this incident. It gave way for this establishment of British supremacy in India. It's very remarkable battle like that. It was believed. At this moment, what happened? They promised this Mir Jafar that they are going to appoint, the British promised this Mir Jafar going to be appointed as Sir Nawab of Bengal. So at this moment, what happened? Everywhere it was spreaded. Mir Jafar is going to become new Nawab of Bengal, like that it was all said. So like this, he was arrested and he was put in prison, Siraj-ud-Dawla. You see, once he was Nawab, so Nawab enjoyed all supremacy, powers, everything, but at last, so the Battle of Plassey was defeated and he was imprisoned. At last, he was hanged in the hands of. So there is especially jailers. So Siraj-ud-Dawla, with the words of Mir Jafar's son, Mir Miran. Mir Miran only ordered for hanging of Siraj-ud-Dawla. Okay, Mir Jafar's son. So because of this, Mir Jafar's son, this Mir Jafar's son, Mir Miran, his name Mir Miran, he only ordered for the hanging of this Sirajuddaulah. At last Sirajuddaulah was hanged. Then who became this Nawab, especially Mir Jafar? So he became Nawab of Bengal. He became Nawab of Bengal. Okay, the British appointed at last. Okay, he paid some compensation to the British also. Because of this Battle of Plassey, we incurred so much of loss. That's why you have to pay loss like that, they said. Accepted to pay the loss, and even 20 lakh rupees that was given as gifted to Robert Clive by this this Mir Jafar. Like that, so all these important things went on. But later, this Mir Jafar came to know the exploitation of the British. Everywhere the British exploiting the things. If it continues, nothing will be left for future generation like that, he estimated, and some disparities arose between these two, Mir Jafar and the British. At last, he was removed by the British in 1761 itself. So, he was removed, Mir Jafar was removed. So, this Mir Jafar. So, this Mir Jafar, he was removed. In 1760 itself, it was started. Officially, in 1761, he was removed. So, this Mir Jafar. Then, what happened? Mir Qasim was appointed. Mir Qasim. This Mir Qasim, brother-in-law of this one, Mir Qasim. He was appointed as Nawab of Bengal. This Mir Qasim, he came to power. In the period of this Mir Qasim, till appointment, he did not speak anything against the British. He supported the British, but after appointment, he said that only seaport areas will be given to you for collection of taxes, and remaining regions, I am the Nawab, I have every power to collect taxes like that. He reversed this Mir Qasim. So, there is no other go. He continued till 1763. In the year 1763, till 1763 only he continued. Because he said, in every aspect, he went against the British. Previously, he did not object, but after appointment, he went against the British. At last, he was removed in the year 1763, and once again, they appointed Mir Jafar. This Mir Jafar is better than Mir Qasim, like that they thought. They appointed once again Mir Jafar. So at this moment, this Mir Qasim, he developed enmity against the British. He took the support of Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, and Ayodhya Nawab Shujauddaulah decided to expel the British from India, British from Bengal region. This Mir Qasim, he was very cruel, notorious personality also. He did not like the activities of the British, had decided to expel the British from Bengal. That's why this Mir Qasim, what happened? He took the help of these people, Mir Qasim. This Mir Qasim, he took the help of Mughal Emperor. This one is Mughal Emperor. This Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. He took the help of this Shah Alam II. Who was the Mughal Emperor? Shah Alam II. Weak ruler. Shah Alam II was a weak ruler, feeble. Okay. So this he took the help of this one. But so he maintained some army in the hands of this one. Then Audar, Ayodhya Nawab. He took the help of Ayodhya. Otherwise it's also called Audh. So this is also called Audh. This Ayodhya Nawab was Shujauddaulah. Shujauddaulah. He took the help of this one. So now three people united together. They decided to declare war against the British. They declared war against the British, that is Battle of Buxar. Name of the place is Buxar. That's why it is called Battle of Buxar. It gave way for the British to establish their power in India. So this Battle of Buxar was declared. This is Battle of Buxar. We are calling this Battle of Buxar. That's in the year 1764. October 22nd only this took place. You see, this war gave way for the British to establish their supremacy in India, their power in India, we can say, because so three people were defeated in this Battle of Buxar. British got victory. So this British, what happened? Successfully got victory in this Battle of Buxar. These three were defeated. So all these three, they were defeated in this. The British only got victory. So this battle, historic battle like that, they said, because it gave way for the establishment of British supremacy, British power in India. Because they decided, they thought that 3 were defeated. Unitedly came against the British, but 3 were defeated. Suppose if anyone comes alone in India, it's very easy to get victory like that, the British thought, and that only gave way for the supremacy. And so here what happened, prior to the 1764, the French also wanted to dominate in India. The French also, because French settlements equal to the British. In every aspect they are equal to the British. So, but French power that was also suppressed by the British in the Battle of Vendivache. Okay. So, this French domination that was suppressed by the British in the Battle of Vendivache. Battle of Vendivache. This Battle of Vendivache that took place in the year 1760. In this battle, the French power that was completely suppressed. The French were defeated. The British got victory. So, who got victory? The British only got victory. Like that. So, one is Battle of Plassey 1757. One is Battle of Buxar 1764. One is Battle of Vendivache. In all these battles, they got victory. At last, the British decided to establish their supremacy. 1773 Regulating Act was passed and they appointed Governor Generals to administer the things in India. Okay. In 1773, a Regulating Act was passed by the British. Regulating Act was passed by the British. They appointed Governor General and council members also, right? So, like that Regulating Act that was passed. They appointed Governor General in India, especially previously they are called Governor General of Bengal. They are called how in the sense? Governor General of Bengal we can say. But later from 1833 onwards, from the period of Lord William Bentinck, they are called Governor General of India. Like that, so here, so by passing this Regulating Act, Governor Generals were appointed. Governor Generals, okay. These Governor Generals were appointed like that we can say. From which period to which period they are called Governor Generals? So here 1773 to 1857, so these people they are called Governor Generals. They are called how in the sense Governor Generals like that we can say. They are called Governor Generals. So how many Governor Generals are there? 15 Governor Generals are there in that. So first one Lord Warren Hastings, last one Lord Canning, like that. How many Governor Generals? 15 Governor Generals are there in this we can say. First one if you see Lord Warren Hastings, Lord Warren Hastings, he was the first one. And the last one if you see Lord Canning, Lord Canning was the last one. Okay, like that. So this one is the first one, this one is last one. So last one is Lord Canning. And after that, 1857 Sipah's Revolt that took place. So with this what happened? Governor General post that was abolished. They abolished this Governor General post and Viceroys were appointed. From 1858 to 1947, they are called Viceroys. They are called how? They are called Viceroys. There are 20 Viceroys. How many Viceroys? 20 Viceroys are there in that. First Viceroy, this Lord Canning. First one, this first Viceroy was Lord. So this Lord Canning we can say. Lord Canning was the first Viceroy and the last Viceroy if we see Lord Mountbatten. Lord. This Mountbatten was the last one. He only prepared India Independence Act 1947. It is prepared by Mountbatten, that's why India Independence Act 1947, that is also called Mountbatten Plan, right? Accordingly, what happened? 15th August 1947, India became free from the clutches of the British. You know well, okay. So like that at last India became free from the clutches, all the powers were transferred, okay. Like this, the British, they were the third people to come to India and they were the third people who left India. In this, you have to remember all these. St. George Fort, that was established by them in Madras. St. David Fort, that was established by them in Bombay. So, Fort William, that was established there in Calcutta. Fort William. Who was the first Nawab of this Bengal? Okay, Murshid Quli Khan. He continued from 1717, 1727. After that, Shujabuddin, he came. He continued from 1727 to 1739 like that. After that only what happened? Sarfraz Khan. So there is he came. So like that you have to remember the names. Okay. So in the period of this, especially Sirajuddaulah only what happened? This battle took place. Battle of Plassey. So Battle of Plassey 1757. Battle of Andivash 1760. So Battle of Buxar 1764. Like that. You have to remember all these important points. So examination point of view, this is very, very important because every time they are asking questions for your group 1 prelims as well as at the same time your group 2 also, right? So you have to remember the points, right? Then, thank you.